There is a moment that every single one of us knows. Someone says something cutting, something designed to provoke you, humiliate you, or drag you into a fight you never asked for. And in that moment you have less than 2 seconds to decide who you are. Most people fumble. They freeze, they snap back with anger, or they walk away replaying the moment for the next 3 days, wishing they had said something different. But there is another way, a quieter, sharper, more devastating way. The ancient Stoics knew it. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, used it on senators who tried to humiliate him. Epictetus, a man born into slavery, used it on masters who tried to break him. And by the end of this video, you will have 5 of their exact replies, weapons of calm that will let you shut down any insult, any manipulation, any disrespect, without ever raising your voice. Stay until the end, because the 5th one is the one that changes everything, the one that stops people from ever trying to provoke you again. Welcome back to Wisdom of the Stoics, the place where ancient wisdom meets modern struggle. If you are new here, this channel exists for one reason: to take the hardest-earned lessons from the greatest minds in human history, men who faced exile, slavery, betrayal, and death with more composure than most of us face a rude comment online, and hand those lessons to you in a form you can actually use, not as museum pieces, not as dusty quotes on a poster, as tools, weapons, armor. If that sounds like something you need, hit subscribe, because we release videos like this to help you build an unshakable mind, one lesson at a time. Now let's talk about something that happens to every one of us more often than we like to admit. Someone insults you. Maybe it is a co-worker who makes a snide comment in a meeting, timed perfectly so everyone laughs and you are left red-faced with no comeback. Maybe it is a family member at dinner who brings up your failures like a party trick, watching your reaction like it is entertainment. Maybe it is a stranger online, hiding behind a screen name, who says something so vicious you feel your blood pressure spike before you have even finished reading it. Whatever the situation, the feeling is the same. Your chest tightens, your face gets hot, your mind goes blank, or worse, it floods with 100 angry responses at once, none of which you can say out loud without making things worse. Here is the truth nobody tells you. That reaction is not weakness. It is biology. It is thousands of years of evolution, screaming at you that you are under threat and you need to fight or flee. But the Stoics discovered something extraordinary almost 2,000 years ago, something modern psychology is only now catching up to. They discovered that between the insult and your reaction, there is a gap, a small space of time where you get to choose. And in that gap lies all your power. The person insulting you controls the words. They do not control your response. That is entirely, completely yours. And once you understand that, you will never lose an argument to a bully again. Because the moment you stop reacting the way they expect, they lose their entire strategy. This is what we are exploring today. 5 replies, drawn directly from Stoic philosophy and the recorded words and habits of men like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, that will let you meet any insult with total composure. These are not comebacks in the sense of clever insults you throw back. They are something far more powerful. They are responses that reveal instantly that the person trying to provoke you has no power over you at all, and nothing unsettles a manipulator more than realizing their weapon does not work anymore. Before we get into the first reply, I want you to imagine something. Picture the most difficult person in your life right now, the one who always seems to know exactly what to say to get under your skin. Maybe it is a boss, a sibling, an ex, a friend who has turned toxic. Hold that person in your mind as we go through this list, because by the end, you are going to know exactly what to say to them, and more importantly, you are going to understand why it works. Let me know in the comments who came to mind. I guarantee you are not the only one thinking of that exact person right now. Let's begin with the first reply, and it comes from the core of Stoic philosophy itself, the dichotomy of control. Reply number 1 is simple, and it is this: that is your opinion, and you are entitled to it. At first glance, this sounds almost too plain to be powerful, but sit with it for a moment. When someone insults you, what they are really doing is offering you their opinion, dressed up as a fact, delivered with enough force that you are supposed to feel obligated to defend yourself against it. The moment you defend yourself, you have accepted their premise. You have stepped onto their battlefield, fighting by their rules, trying to prove a point to someone who was never interested in truth in the first place. They wanted a reaction. They wanted to see you scramble. Epictetus, the philosopher who spent the early part of his life enslaved, taught something radical for his time and for ours. He said that what troubles people is not events themselves, but the judgments we make about them. An insult is just noise, just air moving past your ears until you attach meaning to it. The words, "you are lazy," or "you will never succeed," or "nobody actually likes you," have no power on their own. They only gain power the instant you decide they are true, or the instant you decide you must prove them false. Epictetus lived this philosophy under conditions most of us can barely imagine. He was beaten, he was disrespected, he was treated as property, not a person, and yet he emerged with a mind so disciplined that Roman emperors later studied his teachings. If a man in chains could refuse to let words control his inner peace, what excuse do the rest of us have when a co-worker makes a snide remark in a meeting? Think about what happens when you say, calmly, without sarcasm, without an edge in your voice, "That is your opinion, and you are entitled to it." You have done several things at once. You have acknowledged the person spoke. You have not validated the content of what they said. You have not gotten defensive, which denies them the emotional reaction they were fishing for. And most importantly, you have placed the opinion exactly where it belongs, inside their head, as their judgment, not as an objective truth about you. There is nothing to argue with here, because you never claimed they were wrong to think it. You simply refused to accept it as your problem. Imagine the scene. You are in a work meeting, and a colleague who has always tried to make you look bad in front of your boss says, with a smirk, "I don't think you're really cut out for this kind of responsibility." You might have gotten flustered, listed off your accomplishments in a panic, or shot back something sharp that makes you look defensive and emotional in front of everyone. The Stoic you, the one being built right now as you watch this video, simply looks at them, pauses for one full second, and says, "That's your opinion. You're entitled to it." Then you move on with your work. Watch what happens to the room. Watch what happens to their face. They came prepared for a fight, and you handed them silence instead. There is nothing more disarming than silence delivered with total confidence. This is the discipline of assent that Epictetus taught, one of the 4 disciplines within Stoic practice. It means you do not automatically agree with every impression that enters your mind. When someone says something about you, that statement is just an impression, a piece of raw data entering your senses. You get to choose whether to assent to it, whether to accept it as true and let it shape your emotional state, or whether to observe it, note that it belongs to someone else's perception, and let it pass through you like wind through an open window. The insult only sticks if you grab onto it. Most people grab onto every single insult thrown their way, turning themselves into an emotional dartboard for anyone who wants to take a shot. The Stoic understands they can simply step aside. I want you to try this the next time someone criticizes you unfairly. Do not argue. Do not defend. Just say those words calmly. That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. Then notice, in your own body, how much lighter you feel compared to the times you got dragged into a shouting match, defending your character to someone who was never going to be convinced anyway. If this idea is landing with you, drop a comment below with the word control, because that one word captures the entire secret behind everything we are talking about today. Your reaction is the one thing in this entire interaction that belongs completely to you. Now let's move to the second reply, and this one comes from Marcus Aurelius himself, a man who dealt with more attempted humiliation than almost anyone in recorded history, because he was the most powerful person alive, and everyone around him had a reason to flatter him, manipulate him, or undermine him. Reply number 2 is this: "Thank you for showing me who you are." This one carries a slightly different energy than the first. Where the first reply refuses to accept an insult as truth, this second reply flips the entire interaction on its head. Instead of treating the insult as information about you, it treats it as information about the person delivering it. Because here is something the Stoics understood centuries before modern. Psychology gave it fancy names. Cruelty reveals the cruel. Manipulation reveals the manipulator. When someone goes out of their way to hurt you, humiliate you in public, or twist a conversation just to make you feel small, they are not describing you. They are describing themselves. They are showing you, in real time, exactly what kind of character they carry, what kind of pain or insecurity is driving them, and exactly how much distance you should keep from them in the future. Marcus Aurelius wrote his private journal, what we now call Meditations, not for an audience, not for fame, but as a series of reminders to himself, written mostly during military campaigns on the frontier, far from the comforts of Rome. In it, he repeatedly reminds himself that when people act with malice, it is often because they do not know any better, that they are acting according to what seems good to them, twisted as their perception may be. He was not saying this to excuse bad behavior. He was saying it because understanding why someone behaves badly strips the behavior of its emotional power over you. If you can see clearly that someone's cruelty comes from their own suffering, their own limited understanding, their own fear, you stop taking it personally. And instead you start seeing it as data, useful, clarifying data about who this person actually is. Picture this scenario. You are at a family gathering, and a relative who has never supported your choices decides to bring up an old failure of yours at the dinner table, loud enough for everyone to hear, clearly hoping to embarrass you in front of people you care about. The instinctive reaction is to feel your stomach drop, to feel shame flush through your chest, maybe to snap back with something equally cutting about their own life. But instead, imagine looking at them calmly, letting a beat of silence pass and saying simply, "Thank you for showing me who you are." Then you turn back to your plate, or back to the conversation, completely unbothered. You have not raised your voice. You have not embarrassed yourself. But you have said something that will replay in their mind long after the dinner ends. Because you did not defend yourself, you diagnosed them. This reply works because it does something insults are never prepared for. It removes your ego from the equation entirely. You are not fighting to protect your reputation. You have accepted, internally, that this person's opinion of you does not determine your worth. Instead, you are simply observing them with the same calm curiosity a scientist observes a specimen, and there is nothing more powerful than someone who refuses to be wounded by an attack. It confuses the attacker. It makes them feel, for the first time, exposed, because you have turned their weapon into a mirror. There is a story often told about Marcus Aurelius, describing how he tolerated the constant flattery, gossip, and backstabbing that surrounded the imperial court. A world where senators smiled to his face and plotted against him the moment he turned around. Rather than exhausting himself trying to punish every slight or outsmart every schemer, he trained himself to observe people's true nature and adjust his trust accordingly, without wasting emotional energy trying to change people who had shown him exactly who they were. This is the heart of, "Thank you for showing me who you are." It is not sarcasm. It is not a jab disguised as politeness. It is a genuine acknowledgement that someone just gave you valuable information that tells you how much space to give them in your life going forward. If you have ever stayed too long in a relationship, a friendship, or a job, ignoring repeated signs of someone's true character because you kept giving them the benefit of the doubt, this reply is for you. It trains you to actually listen to what people reveal about themselves through their actions, rather than getting stuck defending yourself against the content of what they say. Let me ask you honestly in the comments, is there someone in your life right now who has shown you exactly who they are, but you have been ignoring it? You do not have to name them. Just type yes if that question hit home, because I promise you are not alone in this. Let's move to the third reply now. And this one might be the hardest to actually use in the moment, because it requires something most people are terrified of: silence. Reply number 3 is not really words at all. It is this: pause, breathe, and say nothing. I know this sounds like it contradicts the entire premise of a video about replies, but stay with me, because this is one of the most devastatingly effective tools in the entire Stoic arsenal, and it is something Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus all pointed toward in different ways. Silence used deliberately is not weakness. It is one of the loudest statements you can make. Seneca, in his letters to his friend Lucilius, wrote extensively about anger, calling it a temporary madness, a state where the mind loses its grip on reason entirely. He argued that the very first and most important step in dealing with provocation is delay. Do not respond immediately. Let the initial surge of emotion pass through you like a wave, because a wave, given time, always recedes. If you speak while the wave is at its peak, you will say something you regret, something driven by the reptilian, reactive part of your brain rather than the wise, deliberate part of your mind that the Stoics spent their entire lives cultivating. Here is what most people do not understand about silence in an argument. Human beings are deeply uncomfortable with it. When someone insults you expecting an immediate emotional reaction, and instead they get nothing, no defense, no anger, no scrambling explanation, just calm, steady eye contact and quiet, it creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, the person who threw the insult is left holding all the tension they tried to hand off to you. They do not know what to do with it. They start talking more, trying to fill the silence, often revealing more of their own insecurity, their own agenda in the process. Meanwhile, you have not given them a single piece of ammunition to use against you, because you have said absolutely nothing they can twist, mock, or escalate. Picture yourself in a heated conversation with someone who is trying to bait you into losing your temper. Maybe a partner during an argument, maybe a difficult client, maybe someone online typing in all capital letters, desperate for you to type back something they can scream about. Instead, you take a slow breath. You let 2, 3, 5 seconds of silence pass, longer than feels comfortable, and you simply do not respond right away. When you do speak, your voice is even, unhurried, completely undisturbed. 9 times out of 10, the entire tone of the interaction shifts. Because the moment you refuse to match their emotional intensity, they have nothing left to escalate against. There is a famous concept within Stoic practice called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of adversity. It involves imagining ahead of time the difficult situations you might face, the insults you might receive, the setbacks you might encounter, so that when they actually happen, you are not caught off guard. You have already, in your mind, walked through the scenario, and so your nervous system does not treat it as an emergency. This is exactly why soldiers train through drills, why pilots run through simulations of catastrophic failure, why surgeons rehearse difficult procedures mentally before ever entering the operating room. The Stoics applied this same principle to human interaction. If you have already imagined someone insulting you, already pictured yourself staying calm, already rehearsed the pause instead of the explosive reaction, then when it actually happens, your mind has a template ready to follow. Try this exercise this week. The next time you feel a surge of anger rising because of something someone said, do not speak immediately. Count to 5 in your head. Notice the urge to respond instantly, and notice that you do not have to obey that urge. You are not a slave to your first impulse. You are the one observing the impulse, deciding whether to act on it. This single habit, delaying your response by even a few seconds, will change more arguments in your favor than almost any clever line you could come up with. If you have ever regretted something you said in anger, something you wish you could take back, comment the word pause below, because that one habit alone could have saved you from that regret. Now let's move into the 4th reply, and this one draws on a concept that completely reframes what an insult even is. Amor fati, the love of fate. Reply number 4 is this: you might be right. I'll think about that. This reply sounds on the surface almost like surrender. like you are agreeing with your critic, giving them the win. But that is exactly why it is so powerful, and exactly why it works on people who are trying to provoke a fight. Because a person trying to insult you is looking for resistance. They want a battle. They want you to push back so they can push harder. When you respond with calm openness instead, agreeing that you will consider what they said, you take away the entire game. There is no fight to escalate, because you never entered the ring. But there is something deeper here than a simple de-escalation tactic. The Stoics believed in something called amor fati, a phrase that translates roughly to love of fate. It means accepting everything that happens to you, the good and the difficult, as part of the necessary unfolding of your life, and even, remarkably, choosing to embrace it rather than resist it. This does not mean becoming passive or agreeing that every insult thrown at you is true. It means refusing to waste energy fighting against reality itself, including the reality that some people will criticize you, some fairly, some unfairly, and that resisting this fact only creates suffering, while accepting it frees you to respond with grace. When you say you might be right, I'll think about that, you are doing something almost nobody expects. You are treating a hostile comment as potentially useful information rather than an attack to be repelled. And here is the secret: sometimes people really do have a valid point buried inside an unkind delivery. The Stoics were relentless about self-examination. Marcus Aurelius wrote constantly about checking his own behavior, questioning whether his reactions were just, whether his judgments were sound. If someone criticizes you, even cruelly, there is sometimes a kernel of truth worth examining, not because they were right to be cruel about it, but because growth often comes from uncomfortable feedback, and a wise person does not discard truth just because it arrived wrapped in an insult. At the same time, this reply protects you even when the criticism is completely baseless, completely malicious, with zero truth to it at all. Because saying, "I'll think about that," does not mean you are actually going to agonize over it. It means you have calmly acknowledged the comment exists, reserved your right to evaluate it on your own terms, in your own time, away from the emotional pressure of the moment. And then you move on. You are not obligated to have a rebuttal ready in the next 3 seconds. You are not obligated to win the exchange in real time. Wisdom takes time. Reactions do not require haste. Imagine a scenario where a friend, maybe during an argument, says something sharp like, "You always do this, you never think about anyone but yourself," instead of immediately defending every decision you have made for the last 5 years. Imagine pausing and saying, evenly, "You might be right. Let me think about that." Watch how the temperature of the conversation drops instantly. You have not admitted guilt. You have not surrendered your dignity. You have simply refused to let the moment turn into a war neither of you can win, and you have given yourself the space to actually reflect honestly later without your ego standing guard at the door. This is one of the hardest replies to master, because our instinct when criticized is to defend ourselves immediately, as if any pause in defense is an admission of total defeat. But the Stoics understood that true strength is not the ability to win every argument in the moment. True strength is the ability to remain undisturbed, regardless of the outcome of the argument, to hold your center even while considering the possibility that you might need to change. Epictetus taught that we should focus entirely on what is within our control, our judgments, our responses, our effort, and let go of what is not within our control, including other people's opinions of us, including whether they walk away from a conversation thinking they won. Let them think they won. It does not matter. What matters is whether you left that interaction with your peace intact. If you have ever found yourself in a shouting match over something that, days later, did not even matter, you already know the cost of fighting every battle someone hands you. Comment the words amor fati below if you are ready to start choosing your battles differently, because typing it out is a small but real commitment to remembering this the next time you need it. Now we arrive at the 5th reply, the one I promised you at the very beginning of this video, the one that does not just end an argument, but stops people from ever trying to provoke you again. Reply number 5 is this: I don't need to win this. I just need to be at peace. This is not something you necessarily say out loud every time, although you certainly can. This is something you say to yourself in your own mind as a foundation beneath everything else we have discussed today. And when you do choose to say it out loud, in the right moment, to the right person, it lands with a weight that nothing else quite matches, because it reveals the deepest truth about your entire approach to conflict. You are simply not playing the same game anymore. Here is what most people misunderstand about arguments, insults, and provocation. They assume the goal is to win, to have the last word, to make the other person feel foolish, to come out on top in front of witnesses, to prove decisively that you were right and they were wrong. But the Stoics rejected this entire framework. Marcus Aurelius, ruling an empire, facing plots against his life, facing plagues, wars, and betrayal at every turn, wrote to himself constantly that the goal was never to defeat other people. The goal was to maintain his own tranquility, his own virtue, regardless of what chaos surrounded him. He understood something that took most people a lifetime, if they ever learn it at all. Winning an argument and losing your peace is not a victory. It is a trade you made against yourself. Think about the last time you truly won an argument. The last time you said something so sharp, so perfectly timed, that the other person had no comeback at all. Now be honest with yourself. Did that victory actually make you feel good afterward? Or did it leave a strange, hollow feeling in your chest? A sense that you had gotten what you wanted but somehow felt worse for it? This is the trap that traps almost everyone. We chase the feeling of winning without realizing that the process of fighting for that win, the anger, the tension, the need to be right, costs us something far more valuable than the argument itself. It costs us our calm. And calm, once broken, takes far longer to rebuild than any argument takes to have. When you internalize this 5th reply, something remarkable happens to the way people treat you. Bullies, manipulators, difficult family members, toxic co-workers, all of them are looking for the same thing, a reaction. They want to see that their words land, that their provocation works, that they have power over your emotional state. The moment they realize, again and again over time, that nothing they say actually disturbs your peace, that you simply do not need to win, that you are not fighting for their approval or trying to prove them wrong, they lose interest. Not because you have beaten them, but because there is nothing left to fight. You have removed the entire battlefield. Provoking someone who refuses to be provoked is like throwing a punch into open air. Eventually you stop throwing punches at all, because it costs you energy for absolutely no return. This is what Epictetus meant when he spoke about focusing only on what is within our control. Your peace is within your control. Their behavior is not. The moment you stop needing to control their behavior, stop needing them to admit fault, stop needing the last word, you become, in a very real sense, unshakable. Not because nothing bad ever happens to you, but because you have separated your inner state from external events completely. This is the entire foundation of Stoic philosophy, built over centuries, refined by emperors and slaves alike. And it comes down to this one sentence you can carry with you into any conflict. I don't need to win this. I just need to be at peace. I want you to imagine for a moment what your life would look like 6 months from now if you fully adopted this mindset. Imagine walking into every difficult conversation, every family gathering, every tense meeting, every online argument, already knowing that your peace is not up for negotiation. Imagine how much energy you would save. Energy currently spent replaying arguments in the shower, rehearsing comebacks you never got to use, losing sleep over something someone said to you 3 days ago. All of that energy, freed up, redirected toward things that actually matter to you. That is not a small change. That is a complete transformation in how you move through the world. Let's bring all 5 of these together for a moment, because they work best not as isolated tricks, but as a complete system, a mindset you carry into every interaction. The first reply, that's your opinion, and you're entitled to it, protects you from accepting other people's judgments as truth. It keeps your sense of self separate from their perception of you. The second reply, "Thank you for showing me who you are," reframes every insult as information about the person delivering it, not a verdict about your worth, letting you learn who deserves your trust and who does not. The third reply, the pause, the breath, the deliberate silence, protects you from your own impulsive reactions, giving you the space to choose your response, rather than being dragged along by your emotions. The fourth reply, "You might be right, I'll think about that," dissolves the need to fight in the moment, giving you room to genuinely reflect, without the pressure of an audience or an opponent demanding an instant verdict. And the fifth reply, "I don't need to win this, I just need to be at peace," is the philosophy underneath all the others, the quiet understanding that your tranquility is worth more than any argument you could ever win. None of these replies require you to be cold, distant, or robotic. In fact, the opposite is true. They require you to be more present than you have ever been, present enough to notice your own reactions rising, present enough to choose your words deliberately instead of firing back on autopilot, present enough to see the person in front of you clearly, without the fog of your own wounded ego distorting the picture. This is not about suppressing your emotions. Stoicism has been badly misunderstood for centuries as a philosophy of emotionless robots, cold men refusing to feel anything at all. That is not what Marcus Aurelius practiced. That is not what Seneca wrote about in letter after letter to his grieving friends. The Stoics felt deeply. They simply refused to let those feelings dictate their actions without the guidance of reason. There is a profound difference between suppressing an emotion and observing it clearly enough to choose your response to it. I want to leave you with one final thought, something that ties directly back to a concept we touched on earlier. Memento mori, the reminder that we will die. This might sound like a strange note to end on, but stay with me, because it is actually the most liberating idea in this entire video. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves of the shortness of life, not to be morbid, but to gain perspective. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself that he could leave this life at any moment, and that this thought should shape how he acted, how he treated others, and what he chose to let disturb him. Think about the insults, the arguments, the petty conflicts that have consumed your energy over the past year. Now imagine looking back on your entire life from its final days. How many of those arguments will still matter? How many of those insults will still sting? Almost none of them. The perspective of mortality strips away the artificial urgency we attach to conflicts that, in the grand scope of a human life, are almost entirely forgettable. This is not an excuse to be passive or to let people walk over you. It is a tool for prioritization. It helps you ask, in the heat of the moment, is this worth my peace? Is this comment, this person, this fleeting conflict, worth the emotional energy I am about to spend on it? Sometimes the answer will be yes. Some battles matter. Some boundaries need to be firmly defended. And Stoicism has never taught passivity in the face of genuine injustice. But far more often the honest answer is no. Most insults, most petty jabs, most attempts at provocation are not worth a fraction of the energy we instinctively want to give them. And once you see that clearly, the 5 replies we covered today stop being techniques you have to remember and force yourself to use. They become the natural expression of a mind that has already decided what actually matters. I want to hear from you directly. Out of these 5 replies, which one do you think you need most in your life right now? Is it the calm refusal to accept someone else's opinion as fact? Is it recognizing that cruelty reveals the cruel, not the target? Is it mastering the pause before you speak? Is it releasing the need to win every single argument? Write the number 1 through 5 in the comments below, and if you want, tell us the situation you are planning to use it in. This channel is built by this community, by people sharing their own battles and their own victories in applying these ideas. And your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. If this video gave you even one tool you did not have 20 minutes ago, do something simple for us. Hit the like button. It takes less than a second. And it tells YouTube to show this video to someone else out there who desperately needs to hear this. Exact message today. Maybe someone dealing with a toxic boss, a manipulative family member, or a friendship that has turned sour. Your like could be the reason this reaches them. And if you have not subscribed yet, this is your moment. Wisdom of the Stoics releases new videos built exactly like this one. Ancient philosophy translated into practical, usable tools for the exact struggles you are facing right now. In your career, your relationships, your own mind. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join thousands of people who are done being at the mercy of other people's words, done losing their peace over things that were never worth the cost. Before you go, share this video with one person who needs to hear it. Maybe it is someone who just went through a hard argument. Maybe it is someone who always seems to let other people's words control their entire mood. Send it to them. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can give someone is not advice in your own words, but a reminder that this wisdom has existed for 2,000 years, tested by emperors and slaves alike, waiting patiently for anyone willing to pick it up and use it. Remember this: you do not need the last word. You do not need to win every argument, defend every judgment, or prove your worth to every person who tries to provoke you. You need only this: your peace, protected, guarded, and entirely your own, no matter what anyone says to you. That is not weakness. That is the strongest thing a human being can possess. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay grounded, and stay stoic.